costume change. This happens to be one of my favorite things to wear. It's actually a undergarment, and then this is on top. I really like this outfit. I bought this. It's kind of old too, actually. I actually bought it. I'm thinking not last summer, but summer before last. But living out here, you don't wear your summer clothes. You don't wear your summer clothes, but you have a very short window when you could wear stuff like this. I'm just wearing this for video. It's not freezing cold in here, but it is winter when I'm doing this video actually. But something else I wanted to talk about as far as dialogue is concerned, which I think is important when children are talking, when in on the farm where there's different dialects, people talking. There's Irish people talking. There's also an Indian couple, speaking. And you're supposed to be able, if you're a good enough writer, to know who's speaking without said so and so after every single line. The same thing, goes for when there's three people talking, three or four people talking. Like it's one scene. I was gonna read it, but it would be too confusing without saying the names, so I decided not to read it. But there's one scene, they're in New Orleans, and there's four women speaking, and you can only say said so and so's name. Oh, that's something else too. Um, Something else besides said every time, questioned, every time, asked every time, um, stated. You can use so many, projected. S- you know, spat, howled, growled, hissed. You can use different adjectives. I guess they're adjectives, I suppose. Um, as far as saying, instead of saying she said, he said every time, and without it being confusing and without it being boring. And that's the other thing I was saying about when more than one or two or three or four people are talking. Uh, you have to be able to differentiate between who is talking without having to put the little tag on the end of it. Because for example, the Indian couple, they don't use contractions, and they call everybody by their whole name, so, or by their Indian name. So when she's if the three women are if the Irish woman and my main character and the Indian woman are in the kitchen, talking, who's speaking, you know and that's a touch you have to have. You can't teach that. Also too, okay, the proper noun comes first, and then the she, he, something like that. And that, okay, if I say um Joe came into the room, then he sat down. Joe is the proper noun. He is a noun also, but it reflects Joe. So you wouldn't say Joe and Sam walked into the room, then he sat down. Now that's supposed to represent the he sat down. It's supposed to represent the last proper noun. And I see that a lot. People, you're just confused. Okay, and you have two people doing something, and then you put he and she. And then also too, something about that is calling your character something else. You don't always have to call them by their name. You can call them, said the beauty, the beautiful, the said the beauty, said the hostess, said the host, said their host, that kind of thing. You have to use words. You can't, um, you can't, the little four line, four word sentences, and every verb is that don't work. So enough of that. But I just want to put something on the end of that because I hadn't I always do that. I should, well, actually, what I should do is make the videos longer, but I know the class of 2015, I know kids nowadays. And they have the attention spans of gnats. So I know by 2115, y'all ain't gonna have no, y'all ain't gonna have no uh, 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 attention span. So I'm trying to keep everything under 20 minutes. But trust me, I could sit here and talk for 2 hours. And plus, it would take me a million years to upload it or download it or whatever the devil I'm doing to it. I want to show you something. This is from Writer's Digest. I don't own it. Don't bother. Um, but I want you to see how many advertisements is in here. Okay, now that's the little article. I'm not going to hold it so you can see what it is. That's the little article right there. That's the article right there. There's one, two, three, four, and then there's one at the bottom. Five advertisements on one sheet. Okay, and then on the back there's self-publishing. They always put that self-publishing stuff, and no, somebody else is going to publish for me. They always put that self-publishing stuff. They always put that stuff in there because we used to call it vanity press. I don't know what they call it now. This is something about ebooks right there. And I mean, this is how long the article is, and look how many advertisements. And then down the bottom here, of course, is a subscription to Writer's Digest. I'm hating. I'm hating. I'm hating. They need to hire me. But I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe when I printed that out. I just sat there looking at it, going, "Look at all these advertisements. One, two, a little one. It's not even 2-page article, like the whole thing, like the whole thing. And the article actually is about conflict. Conflict can be the a man and his woman, or man and wife, whatever. They can have a conflict. They can have different points of interest. They can disagree, something like that. But there also has to be conflict in terms of what's going on. What's going on in the person's life. Like for instance, like I was talking about in the new book, we have the conflict between my character, my Parisian entertainer, and her feelings and her relationship with this German officer, and the conflict inside her that she knows he's responsible for men like her former lover, being sent away. Men like him are responsible for that kind of thing. She doesn't. She doesn't. She deals with it, but she deals with it in a different way. And in the second draft, she is rather mean to him. I mean, not mean in terms of mean. She's very short and very 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 because like I said, they live together. They both live in the same city. They're both in Paris, and they spend a lot of time together, a lot of downtime together. And she the scene where I might put, no, I can't, it doesn't go in the new version. There's one scene where she wants to go to a dress designer's house, and the dress designer wants her to bring, him, and she has to ask him basically, for to go with her to this thing, and she really doesn't want to, but she does. And she he tells her, "Yes, I will go, but you have to do something for me." And she's like, "Well, what?" And he says, "You have to be nice to me. You have to call me by my first name all night." Because, like I tell you, like I said before, she calls him Major. She calls him by his rank. Um, and she, um, and he says, "Yeah, I want you to, I want you to, I want you. You have to, call me by my first name all night." and you have to stick close to me, dance every day, and dance with me and all this stuff like that. And he's got a warped kind of sense of humor. He says a lot of fresh stuff. And she and then and in the end of this whole soliloquy, I guess you would call it, of stuff he wants her to do, he tells her, and one more thing, you have to say something nice to me. You're never nice to me. And I just thought that was, well, besides being very good, that she's standing there. She's like, I've never been rude to you. I have never been rude to you. And he says, no, you've never been rude to me, but you're very cold to me. And I thought, here's this, Nazi telling this girl that she's being cruel to him. And the object of that, number one, was to prove how he's beginning to feel about her. How he's beginning to feel about her, that she's never said anything nice to him. And what she says to him is, well, I didn't want to say anything that was that would be perceived as flattering, you know. And then he says something to her like, uh, "Yeah, well, you're a terrible spy," or something like. Basically, what she says to him is, "I don't want to flatter you," and she says something else. I can't remember what the other line was. Something like, or, I don't want to be perceived as spying. I think that's what kind of, that's not the word I'm looking for, but fishing for information. That's what I'm looking for. And he says something like, "Well, yeah, yeah, well, I guess so, because you're a terrible spy," you know. And he almost says he loves her, and he says, "You're a terrible spy, Madame," because remember I told you, Madame is the proprietor of the nightclub and the head of the resistance. And she says, and he says something like, "Yes, Madame must be terribly disappointed in you. You're a terrible spy. If I didn't, no, he said something like, I would take you out and shoot you if I didn't." And he almost says he loves her. He almost does. And the same thing with her. And in the later version that I'm working on now, they never say it. They never say it until this last, almost very last night that they meet. They never say that they love each other. They do, but they never express it. They never say it. They never express it. The only oh, and to go back to the third, the other version, I'll go back to when they say they love you and how she shows him affection, but I'll go back to that. So when he, in the second version, when he says, "You never say anything nice to me. You're never nice to me. The only time you're nice to me is when we're in bed, and then you're, just giving directions. You're not nice to me." And of course, she, comes back with, "Have I been rude to you?" And he's like, "No, but you're not nice." And so he kind of, kind of just walks away or turns around on the couch or whatever the devil it is he's doing. And she says, "Your hair." Your hair, you have beautiful hair. It's, it's blonde, it's almost white, it's blonde like a child's, it's very soft, it smells very good. And he goes, "Well, yeah, I guess that's as close as I'm going to get, yes, except the invitation." And it's another scene in this one, because like I said, it's a different dynamic. They're together in the same city all the time. They're together. And he comes in, this is when their relationship is not even a relationship. He's just at this point basically blackmailing her into having sex with him. And he comes in and goes to kiss her, kisses her on her cheek, and she says, you're using different aftershave. And he goes, I mean, he can't believe she realizes the difference, that she's paid any attention. And he says something like, "Well, yeah, I didn't get my usual barber this time because there's so many, there's so much brass in town, there's so many officers and important people in town that, my regular barber wasn't there. I had to use my this new barber used something else. Don't you like it?" And she said, yeah, it's fine, but it's just I just noticed it that that's it's a different thing. So then that's how they feel about each other comes along. Now the third um version, which is the one that's going to be written, she okay, like I told you, he how she finds out who he is he walks into the club in his uniform. Okay, so she's oh my god, she's just like, she doesn't know what's going on. And the thing is when he comes back into the dressing room and they're talking about him taking her away and they're being alone and finally making love. um she, he goes to kiss her. She won't show him any affection when he's in his uniform. She won't touch him. She won't let him kiss her. She won't let and I think that's in a way how she deals with it. you know um and that's part of the conflict. And just like in Autumn, conflict can also be a broader in a broader sense. Oh, let me go back. When she does show him affection and he's in his uniform, it's the night he comes back when she thinks he's gone. She thinks that she's seen him for the last time he's gone. And the allies are on their way, and she's pretty darn sure that the war is going to be over in a little while. He's gone. She's never going to see him again. And he actually knocks on her door, and of course he's in his uniform, or he'd be shot as a spy. And she just throws herself into his arms. It doesn't matter, now at this point when things are getting kind of insane. And I want a lot of chaos. I want a lot of chaos in that night. Also, conflict as far as like in Autumn, I had two things happening at the same time that had to meet, that had to meet at a point like that. you know um I had um one of my like female, I guess, villainesses and my main character have two different things happening at the same time, and it meets because she's coming from the villain is coming from far away. My main character is wondering if she's pregnant, and she's getting this new she and her man are finally kind of getting kind of used to each other. They're kind of, and like I told you before, she's using some kind of primitive birth control, primitive spermicide she's made out of her herbs. And she um it's she stops taking it because she wants to have a baby. She's got to know him a bit, and she's like, okay, he's okay. And she always wanted her own child, but like I said before, she was not going to have a slave. And so all this pleasantness is going on. This woman thinking about having a baby and trying to get pregnant by her man because she wants to give him a child and she wants them to have a child. Where and on the other hand, there's this miserable person traveling across the country towards where the farmer and my main character live. She's coming descending upon them right about the time she arrives on the day that my character decides she's going to tell her man she's going to have a baby, going to have his child. She arrives that day as my character is fixing the romantic dinner for the romantic picnic for them to go out to um to the lake. And she's fixed all his favorite thing, not the lake, the stream. They have a stream on the farm that runs the mill and gives all the water. And it's the night she's gonna tell him. She's got this whole romantic thing planned out. And who comes? The villainess. She hits their front porch literally. um uh uh she gets sick and falls out and ends up having to be nursed by my character. And because they can't, she falls out on the porch. So, and they can't just leave her there, kick her out. you know and my character finally ends up telling him not romantically like she wanted to, but in conflict. So that's enough of that. I'm gonna play this one back. I'm gonna look at it. I gotta get up and stretch my freaking hip. Okay.